Killingly all everything, and recent graduate Soren Rief with us, a favorite of game day. Soren, thank you so much for joining us here at halftime, and we're going to start right off the bat because it's blinding.
Yeah.
What do we got on? What's the hardware?
Look at that right there.
A couple state championship rings right here. My sophomore year of football.
Wow.
This past year with wrestling, and then 2023 wrestling. We went back to back.
So your sophomore year state championship, big ring.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Your junior year, your senior year, you guys were competitive states again, and here the year after you leave, they're back in a position again to make it to the states. Why is Killingly so successful at maintaining its excellence in football? What is it about the culture here at Killingly that allows for this team year in and year out to be in a position to win a state championship?
I mean, it really starts in the off season in the barn with Coach Caffrey. That's where it all starts, guys. They're starting to bond together all off season. They're lifting weights every day, and I think that's really where it starts because you look around the state. There's not a lot of teams doing that, and that's why Killingly has been so successful, and they will continue to be successful.
When you were coming up as a youth player, who were the players that you saw here, and when was the first time you thought to yourself, that's what I want to do, I want to go there and be that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, you always heard of Spencer Lockwood, obviously, and then closer when I was getting to high school, they had Jack Sharp, and, I figured out that I could go here through the ag program, and we came up and checked out the semifinal game versus Waterford, down in Waterford, 19, and after that, I was like, yeah, this is where I want to go, and it was... That's right from there.
Now, you finished up an incredible season this past year. You graduated from Killingly. You went on to prep school. Finished up an incredible season, all-conference, team MVP.
Yep.
Just talk a little bit about your experience at prep school and what it was like coming from this program into the success you had this year.
I mean, it was a little different at first because I'm coming into a new program. I got to learn the whole playbook, and we came in beginning of September, and within 2 weeks we were playing our first scrimmage. So to learn the playbook that quick and learn to bond with those guys that I've never played with before, it was definitely difficult. But being a leader for Coach Neal and the other coaches for 2 years, I kind of stepped in and I was a leader there, and I think that's what helped us.
You had mentioned you had a question that you wanted to ask him.
Well, personally, first of all, I want to thank you for all you've done to make the ECC proud, and being an offensive lineman, one of the things that I still endure and love and cheer is that I have a great relationship with my running backs. Yep. Even though we're 51, we're still young, and I'll tell you, the anticipation of seeing them and giving them a hug makes me still feel like I'm still in the game. My question to you is, the things that you've accomplished, those guys in the front line, I know that people don't see that a lot in X's and O's in football and on TV. What's your relationship with them, and how's it been that really kind of made you feel like I'm going to make sure I get into the end zone for these guys? I
mean, you look at how much effort those guys are putting in every day and every play. I mean, they're going at it in the trenches, and they're doing that for, the whole team, but specifically for the running backs. And the X-Men, the two extra Julius boys, those were my brothers, great, and they still are. So those guys did a great job, and just every year we always got tough linemen, and they paved the way for the running backs. So.
Awesome. This is how much he values offensive linemen. When AJ went to the Killingly homecoming, he said, "Listen, you're an offensive lineman. I got to give you love." So he even treats opposing offensive linemen with love. He realizes how much they contribute. Wrestling. You mentioned it. 2 of your championships are wrestling. We've seen you, and one of the great battles over the past few years that we've had is with another player who's playing in the semifinals in football right now, the Division II Player of the Year. Which is Malachi Fowler, the number one linebacker here at Killingly, who's shadowing Jax Higgins all day, Anthony Oates. Talk a little bit about wrestling, and it seems obvious, but talk a little bit about the ties between wrestling and football.
I mean, it's just really there's no other sport that goes hand in hand with football like wrestling. It's tough, it's gritty. You're out there by yourself. I mean, it's a team sport here in football, but it comes down to how well you do, and I think wrestling prepares you because when you go out there on the mat and you lose, you got no one else to blame. And I was fortunate enough to have Anthony these past couple of years to drill with, and He's a great wrestler. He's a great football player. And, of course, Malachi, who's a very good competitor. He beat me last year in the ECC. I came back the next week and beat him in the state championship. So, we always went head-to-head, and it was good competition.
I think, one of the things that goes underrated when it comes to wrestling and football, and maybe the running backs don't have to deal with this part about it as much, but you, my man, as an offensive lineman,
yes, sir.
The one-on-one, there's no one there but you on that island. But for offensive linemen who are generally bigger, wrestling, the use of your hands, being able to shed people, goes really hand in hand with how you are an offensive and defensive lineman. What did you learn about, forget, just the size, speed, strength, all that. What did you learn about technique from wrestling that you think football, benefited you in football?
Well, I think it starts with your center of gravity, like how especially with the running back, I know sometimes I take some hits and be able to stay up and recover, and I think a lot of that came from wrestling because you're tying up with the guy, you're getting thrown around, and to stay on your feet it's
all about leverage right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, leverage and balance and movements. Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, great thing.
I think the rivalry between you and Malachi last year was maybe my favorite part of the season because you guys are mirrors of each other in so many ways. Head-to-head on the football field, head-to-head in wrestling. It's like certain guys, you look back, years later, we talk about this. You're going to look back 20 years from now. Malachi will be someone you talk about forever because you guys were linked to each other through sports. And I was there. We were at game day when you lost in the ECCs. And I remember literally the second that you grieved for 5 seconds, and then it was immediately about we're going to see each other again.
Absolutely.
Yep. So the competitive nature, but the respect that you guys have. Finish with that. You've moved on from high school to prep. Now you're going to be heading off to college. But just talk about the respect of competition that you have developed over the years with players from a variety of places.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You gotta look at it as they're looking for the same goal that you are. So they're going out there just like you. They're practicing, and I know how much work I put in for these sports, wrestling and football, and I just I automatically respect my competitors because I know they're putting in the same amount of work. So
yeah, I'll tell you, where you're going and how you're heading is an inspiration to a lot of student athletes out here.
Thank you.
One of my best friends, Jeff Ziegler, who was a wrestler in Montville, and we battled year after year in wrestling, competed since Pop Warner. And we still hold a relationship today that I love him like a brother. We hung out yesterday. We talked about these kind of things, about what championship football is all about, and what you instill is amazing, man. Keep going, and God bless you with what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
The last thing for you is this. You talked about when you were looking up at the, I think you understand this. It's probably sometimes a little strange that there's an entire generation of kid, particularly here in the Killingly area, who wear your jersey, who have said, I want to be Soren Rief. Right. What's your obligation to them?
It's awesome. There's no feeling like that, having kids look up to you like that. After the games last year, we walk up the hill, there's kids wanting to take pictures, and I made sure that I set time aside to go take pictures of every single one of them, and they appreciate that. And I was once one of those little kids wanting to take the pictures with the big high school guys, so it means a lot to me.
And that right there might be another reason why Killingly is still the premier team around the state and around the ECC.
Amen.
Because the next generation of kid is going to replicate that as well.